Welcome to another review here on Ray Roner Does Music, where we're once again going into the K-pop water hole, this time with a release I've been meaning to actually check out since it first came out, but I was not quite into the reviewing form, I should say. And so I kept procrastinating, but now here I am doing almost daily reviews. Torturing myself, we're taking a look at Love Letter by 17. If you thought groups were big with 5 singers, 7 singers with BTS, the boys here will blow you away with 13 members separated into different units, that being the hip-hop, vocal, and performance units. I'm not going to spend time trying to pronounce and eventually butchering every single name here, so I'll leave that for later on when I have to address the members individually. But here's what you need to know going into this right now. With 4 EPs... With 4 EPs, this album currently released, and a second album coming up very soon called Teen Age. They're not quite the kings of the mountain like Big Bang or how BTS has now become, but they're one of the biggest names in the male side of K-pop for good reason. Throughout this release here, every member is used to their potential in the recording, as throughout you see multiple members getting verses, sharing a chorus, or even just chiming in with some harmonization parts. Coming in for a quick burst, all 3 units are represented very well. Unlike usual releases in the genre, however, you do see some songs dedicated to fewer, and sometimes just with one member with Simple, a track where only Woozy from the vocal unit sings, and honestly Simple is simply, with no pun intended, one of the better tracks on this album for its focus on one of its star performers here. Because Woozy, he takes his chance to prove himself as a, how do I word this, just a single singer here, and he does something that not many people could do on their own. Because in a lot of K-pop groups, especially the aforementioned Big Bang and even occasionally Girls' Generation, as I've learned listening to their music, they have chemistry together, but when given an opportunity and a platform to go out on their own, they're not able to do quite as much. But Woozy here, he does more than he does in some of the other songs on the album here, with where he's up with everybody else. Yeah, the song shows off not only his ability to carry himself as an individual, but the flexibility each band member has with all those points taken into consideration. The flowing theme also throughout this album, Love Letter, is the concept of first love. Something that's explored quite well, especially in the song Can't See the End, where DK, I believe it's DK, Dake, who even knows, compares himself to becoming a beam of light from the strength and confidence he finds in this idea. Moving on from songs where one member is spotlighted above the others, Chuck is a fantastic piece showing off the talents of multiple members, with the flow being effortless and done with a precision often overlooked from other K-pop artists. One of my biggest issues I've described in all 4 of these K-pop reviews I've been doing on the channel here is that chemistry and flow is something that's either wasted, overdone, or just not handled correctly. Back on my review of Big Bang, when I was looking at their song Loser, I just could not wrap my head around how they had so many opportunities to go the distance but stopped themselves short with putting some members over others, giving some more time over others, and just not focusing their efforts where they should have been put more. And switching up from one member to another is often also done very badly, like I mentioned in the review for Big Bang. But here, it's done in a very good way. I apologize. The chemistry is far from screwy, and it's present on a separate album from this band, of course, but here we're focusing on Love Letter, where, quite frankly, it's the most solid release they put out today, and that's hard to say, because as releases go on in a band's discography, oftentimes it's the original content that stands the test of time and ends up being the better stuff here. But Love Letter has managed to become their best stuff to date. Pretty You, a song here as well, is a case where members jump in and out of every other bridge and a couple lines of lyrics. Members like The Eights, how do I pronounce this one? Seung Kwan, and others mixing in and collaborating, testing the waters for chemistry, and it's amazing. What I did notice throughout the album as it progressed, a lot of the songs ended up sounding very similar to the last one, which is a common thing with K-pop albums, where oftentimes every song sounds the same, or at least if it's not one song sounding like the other, the entire album sounds like a carbon copy of every single song over and over. And it may just because I'm not super big into the scene like a lot of fans are, but besides the obvious instrument and mood tones in songs like Popular Song and Pretty You, I wouldn't be able to tell one of these songs from the other. Granted, again, you do have the wide disparity from here's every member of the group, contrary to here's 4 members of the group on some songs. It gets to a point where if you listen to the album more than once in a short span of time, I can see a lot of people, including myself, leaning more towards these songs with less people on them. Because while the songs where you have multiple members and pretty much everyone chiming in, getting their time in and just doing their best to get the spotlight for that one single moment, it feels kind of desperate and flaky at times. I can see, honestly, Say Yes is, again, one of those songs that has less people on the track, and I find myself drifting to that one quite often when I listen to it. But regardless of that looming elephant in the room, what's here is a very solid album from 17, and an impressive debut. I won't be lining up outside a record store to get my hands on Teenage, their next album, but I can see Love Letter being one I return to quite often, and one of the few South Korean K-pop albums that I might actually pick up eventually, because they're very, very expensive. I'll give this release, though, a 7 out of 10, and I urge you to go down below to check out my personal pick for my favorite song, and don't forget to look over in the recommended area for hopefully some 17 songs or my own reviews, depending on how the algorithm works today. And if you enjoyed or hated my opinions here, be sure to like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe. I'll see you in the next video.